You know her story by heart. A beautiful mermaid with flowing red hair falls in love with a human prince. She trades her voice to a sea witch for legs, walks on land despite every step feeling like knives, and wins his heart. They kiss. The curse breaks. Love conquers all. It's Disney's The Little Mermaid, and for millions of children who grew up in the late 80s and 90s, it defined what mermaids are: romantic, innocent, yearning for love and belonging. If you read Hans Christian Andersen's 1837 original, you know the story is darker. The mermaid doesn't get her happy ending. Every step on land causes her agony. The prince marries someone else. She's given a choice: kill him and return to the sea, or die herself. She chooses death, dissolving into sea foam. It's tragic, beautiful, and deeply melancholic. This is the version literature students study, the version that reminds us fairy tales weren't always sanitized. But here's what nobody tells you. Even Andersen's Tragic Mermaid is a sanitization, a romantic reframing of something far older and far more disturbing. Because before she was a love-struck princess, before she was a tragic martyr, she was a predator, a creature that lured men to their deaths with song, a being blamed for shipwrecks, drownings, and the disappearance of sailors who never came home. The Little Mermaid, you know, is a story built on layers of reinterpretation and sanitization, and every layer of that lie was designed to make you forget what these creatures originally were. Let's start with what mermaids and sirens actually were in European folklore, before romance, before redemption, before Disney. In Greek mythology, sirens were creatures who sat on rocky shores and sang. Their voices were supernaturally beautiful, irresistible. Sailors would hear the song, steer toward it, and their ships would smash against the rocks. Drawn toward the sound, sailors would steer their ships off course, leading to shipwreck, drowning, and death. In Homer's Odyssey, Odysseus has himself tied to the mast of his ship so he can hear their song without succumbing. His crew's ears are plugged with beeswax. The sirens don't seduce out of loneliness or desire. They lure because that's their nature. They're predators, and men are prey. In Germanic and Scandinavian folklore, we have the Nix or Nixie, water spirits who appear beautiful, but drag people beneath the surface to drown. They don't do this for love. They do it because it's what they are. In Slavic traditions, the Rusalka are the ghosts of drowned women who become malevolent water spirits. They dance on riverbanks, lure men into the water, and drown them. Some versions say they tickle their victims to death. Others say they simply pull them under and watch them die. Scottish and Irish folklore gives us selkies, seal women who could shed their skins and walk on land. But even these, often romanticized in later retellings, had a darker edge. If a man stole a selkie's skin, she was trapped on land, forced into marriage. When she finally found her skin again, she would return to the sea without hesitation, abandoning her human family. There's no romance in coercion. There's no love in captivity. Across cultures, the pattern is consistent. Beautiful female water spirits, irresistible songs or dances, men lured to their deaths. These weren't stories about forbidden love. They were warnings. Don't trust the beauty you see near the water. Don't follow the voice that calls you. The sea kills, and these creatures embody that danger. Here's what modern retellings consistently erase. These stories had a function. They weren't random. They existed because the sea was genuinely dangerous, and communities needed ways to process that danger. When a sailor didn't return, when a fisherman's boat was found empty, when a young man went swimming and never resurfaced, communities needed explanations. The siren provided one. She was the externalization of the sea's unpredictability, its beauty and its lethality combined in a single figure. But there's another layer. These stories also regulated behavior. Young men were warned, don't be seduced by beauty you don't understand. Don't chase what calls to you from unknown waters. Don't trust your desires when they pull you toward danger. The siren was a cautionary figure about temptation, about the consequences of abandoning reason for desire. And in many versions, there's a third function. Many folklorists interpret these stories as reflecting real violence against women. In several Slavic traditions, the Rusalka are described as the spirits of women who drowned, sometimes after betrayal, abuse, or despair. They returned as vengeful creatures, drowning the men who had once oppressed them. It's dark, but it's not meaningless. These stories gave voice to real violence, real tragedy, real consequences. The siren wasn't written as a moral villain. She functioned as a mirror. She reflected the sea's danger, male temptation, and female rage all at once. When Hans Christian Andersen wrote The Little Mermaid in 1837, he fundamentally transformed what the mermaid represented. His mermaid doesn't lure men to their deaths. She saves a prince from drowning. She doesn't sing to destroy. She gives up her voice to become human. She doesn't embody the sea's danger. She suffers to escape it. Every step she takes on land feels like walking on knives. The prince doesn't love her back. She's given a dagger and told she can save herself by killing him, but she refuses. She dissolves into sea foam instead, sacrificing herself for his happiness. Why did Andersen make this change? Some scholars argue it reflects his own experiences with unrequited love, his outsider status as a queer man in 19th century Denmark, his longing for acceptance in a world that would never fully embrace him. And then Disney arrived and completed the sanitization. The 1989 film gives Ariel everything Andersen's mermaid was denied. She gets the prince. She gets her voice back. She gets human legs without permanent agony. Her father uses magic to transform her permanently, blessing the union. There's no suffering, no sacrifice that isn't immediately rewarded, no consequences that can't be fixed by true love. More importantly, Ariel is reframed as a teenage girl with dreams and agency. She's not luring men to their deaths. She's collecting human artifacts in an underwater grotto. She's singing about wanting to be part of that world, not destroying it. She's curious, rebellious, romantic. She's every teenage girl who feels misunderstood by her parents, constrained by her circumstances, longing for something more. Disney's Ariel is designed to be relatable, sympathetic, and ultimately rewarded. The narrative arc is clear. She wants something, she takes risks to get it, and she succeeds. It's empowering. It's optimistic. It's the most extreme softening of everything the siren once represented. The sea is no longer dangerous. It's magical. The mermaid is no longer a threat. She's a princess. Let's be clear about what's been systematically erased across these transformations. First, the acknowledgement that nature is indifferent and dangerous. The original siren stories understood that the sea kills. It's beautiful and it's lethal, and those two things aren't contradictory. Modern versions erase this entirely. The ocean becomes a backdrop for adventure and romance, not a force that drowns people. Second, the recognition that desire can lead to destruction. The men who followed the siren's song weren't evil. They were tempted, and temptation killed them. This is uncomfortable, but it's true. Modern culture wants to believe that following your heart is always right, that desire is inherently good. The siren stories said otherwise. Third, the space for female rage and power. The original sirens, the Rusalka, the Nixies, they weren't passive. They had agency, even if that agency was destructive. They weren't waiting to be saved or loved. They were forces to be feared. By turning them into victims who need rescue or romantic heroines who need love, we've removed their power entirely. Fourth, the acceptance that not every story needs a happy ending. Andersen understood this. His mermaid suffering had meaning precisely because it wasn't resolved. Disney can't tolerate this. Every problem must be fixable. Every sacrifice must be rewarded. Every tear must lead to joy. It's emotionally satisfying, but it's a lie. Some transformations are permanent. Some sacrifices are final. Some love isn't returned. The siren who lures men to their deaths, embodying the sea's danger and the consequences of unchecked desire. Andersen's mermaid, who suffers beautifully but harmlessly, who gives up everything for love and gets nothing in return. Disney's Ariel, who wants, pursues, and receives, who transforms the sea from deadly to magical, the mermaid from warning to wish fulfillment. Each layer adds more fairy dust. Each one makes the story safer, softer, more palatable, and each one buries the truth deeper. We tell ourselves this is progress, that we've evolved beyond frightening children with stories of monsters, that we've learned to center female agency and happy endings. And maybe that's partly true, but we've also lost something. We've lost the capacity to tell stories that acknowledge permanent danger, that accept suffering without resolution, that understand beauty and lethality can coexist. We've lost the vocabulary for discussing temptation and consequence without moralizing. We've lost the space for female figures who are powerful precisely because they're dangerous. The next time you see a little girl dressed as Ariel, red wig and purple seashell bra, singing "Part of Your World," remember what's buried beneath that image. Remember the sailors who heard singing and never came home. Remember the communities who created these stories to process loss, to regulate behavior, to acknowledge that beauty can kill. Remember that the sea doesn't care about your dreams or your love story. It drowns people. The siren they turned into a princess was never meant to be loved. She was meant to be feared, respected, understood as a force of nature, rather than a character in a romance. We've buried that understanding under a century of retellings, each one softer than the last, each one more focused on love and dreams and happy endings. We've taken a warning and turned it into a wish. We've taken a predator and turned it into a princess, and in doing so, we've forgotten something essential about how to live with danger, how to respect what we don't understand, how to tell stories that don't resolve neatly because life doesn't resolve neatly. The fairy dust is thick now. Most people don't even know there's something underneath. They just see the princess, sing along with the songs, and never wonder what was lost. But it's still there, beneath the animation, beneath the merchandise, beneath the happy ending. The siren is still singing. The rocks are still sharp. The sea is still deadly.